Cocaine, tequila, and then a deadly crash. Jose Fernandez was a baseball player on the rise, but his life and the lives of two friends were cut short by a tragic mistake. These are the details of Jose Fernandez's autopsy report. In September 2016, Jose Fernandez, a pitcher for the Miami Marlins, was at the height of his career and life. Although he was only 24 years old, he had already won a Rookie of the Year award and was a two-time All-Star player. In April 2014, Fernandez was voted as the National League Pitcher of the Month. Only a few years earlier, he had fled Cuba with his mother. Born in Santa Clara, Cuba, Fernandez had attempted and failed to leave the country 3 times. These escapes landed him in prison. In 2008, on his 4th attempt, the 15-year-old was on a boat in the Gulf of Mexico when someone fell overboard. Fernandez jumped into the water to rescue them. Unbeknownst to him, he had saved his own mother, Maritza. Of the harrowing experience, he later said, "If that does not leave a mark on you for the rest of your life, I don't know what will." After they successfully made it to the United States, Fernandez settled with his family in Tampa, Florida. In 2011, he was drafted by the Miami Marlins. Soon after, he was playing in the big leagues. However, the life of Fernandez, as well as those of his 2 friends, Emilio Macias and Eduardo Rivero, would be cut short on September 25, 2016, via ESPN. The 3 were on Fernandez's boat named Caught Looking when it crashed into a jetty near Miami Beach. Fernandez, Macias, and Rivero were at a bar before making their way onto the 32-foot Caught Looking. By 3 a.m., the Coast Guard had discovered the overturned boat near the jetty. All 3 young men were dead. 2 were found underneath the boat, while 1 was in the water. Fernandez was only 24 years old and had recently announced that he and his girlfriend were expecting their first child. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission surmised that speed had caused the accident. Fernandez had died from trauma caused by the impact. His autopsy, however, revealed that there was more to the story. According to USA Today, Fernandez had both cocaine and alcohol in his system. Blood taken from a vein and eye determined that his blood alcohol level was 0.147. which NBC News writes is almost twice the legal limit. Macias and Rivero, meanwhile, were not legally drunk. Fernandez and his friends all died from blunt force trauma. His autopsy report stated that his injuries, including lacerations on his right eye, his right cheek, mouth, lip, and chin. Additionally, Fernandez had various broken bones in his face, including the mandible, maxilla, and zygomatic bone. The autopsy concluded that he had cerebral edema and a subgaleal hemorrhage. In other words, Fernandez's brain was swollen, and there was bleeding inside of his skull. He also suffered pulmonary edema, or fluid buildup in the lungs from the impact. Nevertheless, the report failed to mention who was actually driving the boat.
And his attorney says this accident scene was simply too complicated for anyone to really understand who was behind the wheel at the time.
CBS Sports reported that months after the crash, an investigation by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission had determined that Fernandez was driving the boat at the time of the fatal crash. His DNA was found on both the boat's wheel and throttle. It was believed that Fernandez was driving 65 miles per hour. Prior to this, Yahoo Sports states his attorney had asserted that Fernandez was not behind the wheel. Furthermore, the investigation disclosed that Fernandez's body was found underneath the boat, and that his facial injuries were so severe that he had to be identified using his MLB ID and his tattoos. Before the crash, Fernandez and his friends had been seen purchasing tequila and other alcoholic drinks at a local bar. The accident, per CBS Sports, occurred less than 20 minutes after they left the establishment. According to CBS News, the families of Rivero and Macias, who were 25 and 27 years old when they died, filed wrongful death suits for $2 million each against Fernandez's estate soon after. The lawsuit was eventually settled in 2018 for an undisclosed amount. NBC Miami notes that ultimately, the boat crash tainted Fernandez's legacy. Before his death, he was seen as a Cuban hero who had achieved the impossible. The investigation, however, had cast shadows on his accomplishments. The Sun-Sentinel points out that if Fernandez had survived the crash, he would have faced manslaughter charges over the deaths of Macias and Rivero. Days after his death, Fernandez's ashes were scattered at sea. His daughter, Penelope, was born to his girlfriend, Maria Arias, in February 2017.
He looked forward to being everything he never had.